Wilfried Nancy's tactics are causing controversy, but wait until you hear why it's actually nothing new. Celtic's switch to a back three has exposed a glaring squad issue that needs fixing in January, and a former boy has just issued a serious warning about the board's spending. Plus, Lewis Capaldi linked up with a Celtic legend down under. This is going to be interesting. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Wilfried Nancy's use of a tactics board on the touchline during Sunday's match has drawn criticism from some corners of the Celtic support, but the reaction feels completely out of proportion. The new manager was seen mid-game gathering players around to visually explain adjustments. For some, it was too much too soon, or perhaps simply unfamiliar, but it was just a manager doing his job and coaching his team in real time. He was trying to work out a solution in real time, actively trying to get Celtic back into the game. This isn't a new quirk or an ego trip for the manager. Nancy has used the tactics board regularly throughout his career, including in high-stakes fixtures like the MLS Cup final against Los Angeles FC. It's a straightforward method for making a point clear and actionable, especially in a noisy environment where verbal instructions might be lost. Seeing a shape laid out visually can speed up understanding. That clarity can make a difference. Sunday was a difficult afternoon. Nancy had only one full training session with the squad and introduced a back three that clearly didn't click, but trying to fix it live during the match shouldn't be held against him. If anything, it shows a willingness to problem solve rather than sit on his hands. While not every supporter was on board with the approach, it was hardly controversial. Coaching in the dugout isn't a crime, and given where Celtic are right now, the club could do with more of it, not less. Now for the main story, as Celtic's shift to a back three under Wilfried Nancy has already exposed some structural issues in the squad. Austin Trusty has had a run in the team in recent weeks and started on the right against Hearts, but it was clear that he wasn't best suited to the position. Trusty started on the right side of the back three, despite being naturally left-footed. Speaking on Sky Sports, James McFadden highlighted why it didn't quite work. Having a left-footer at right centre-back, he wants to play this expansive football. He wants his side centre-backs to step into the game. I don't think Trusty stepped into the game enough, and it's not a slight on Trusty and his ability. I think if he was on the left-hand side, he would have stepped into the game a lot more, said McFadden. But that's where your spare player is. And if you're not willing to step in, allowing Hearts to shuffle across, then you don't have the spare man, because you're not making them work hard enough. The game again underlined how much Celtic are missing Cameron Carter-Vickers. The American, out for the season, is a right-footed defender who would have been a natural fit for the right-sided role. Without him, Nancy is working with a patchwork defence, trying to plug gaps while implementing a new system on the fly. Simpson Pusey, who started his first Celtic game at right-back under Martin O'Neill, may be an option moving forward. He arrived in the summer on loan from Man City, but minutes have been hard to come by. Dane Murray was on the bench, but his performances this season haven't convinced. One way or another, Celtic will need to address the issue in January. The demands of Nancy's setup require defenders comfortable stepping into play and distributing under pressure, qualities currently in short supply. In other news, Celtic's decision to bring in Wilfried Nancy before their biggest domestic test of the season has drawn criticism, with some supporters questioning the timing after Sunday's 2-1 home defeat to Hearts. Martin O'Neill had maintained a perfect league record during his 6-game spell as interim boss. That form led many to believe he had earned the right to lead the team into the clash with Hearts. However, the performance against Dundee midweek was a warning sign. It was nothing against his management or setup. It was that the current squad is just lacking some quality. The 1-0 win was far from convincing, with Celtic holding on nervously at the end against a side battling relegation. James McFadden, speaking on Sky Sports after the game, offered some perspective on the situation. He said, "I think that this is a game, because Hearts have shown this season that had Martin O'Neill been in charge, it was still a game Celtic could have lost. And if Celtic lost the game, they would have said, well, why are you waiting to get a manager in who's ready to come in? The timing's always going to be difficult." So the biggest issue was always going to be, it was clear that Wilfried Nancy wants to play a back three, and it was clear he was going to put that in place as soon as he could. Nancy had just one training session before the match, but immediately shifted to a back three. The shape change caused issues, with Celtic looking uncertain throughout. Hearts punished the hesitancy. Claudio Braga capitalised on Callum McGregor being caught in possession to open the scoring, with Arne Engels playing him onside. Oisin McEntee then scored a second from a Harry Milne corner. Celtic had their chances. Maida passed up two big openings early on, while Engels saw an effort superbly saved by Alexander Schwolo. Reo Hatate smashed a volley off the bar in the same move, Kieran Tierney netted deep in stoppage time, but it was too late to spark a comeback. In other news, plenty of opinions have been raised after Celtic's defeat to Hearts, leaving current title race talk a very real thing. Now, one former Celtic midfielder has chimed in with his views and has issued a warning ahead of the January transfer window. It was always going to be a tough start to life in Glasgow for Wilfried Nancy when you looked at his first fixtures. League leaders Hearts at home, AS Roma in the Europa League, and a League Cup final against St Mirren. Yes, he has fallen at the first hurdle, but signs were there in the first half of Sunday's defeat to indicate that this squad will gel under his leadership. The issue is, he won't have the luxury of time on his side to allow things to click. The Hoops have 6 games across all competitions within the next 30 days in a packed festive schedule. It's clear that the current squad need reinforcements in the door. Craig Burley, who was at the Hoops from 1997 until 1999, has had his say. Celtic have money, but part of the ire of the lads, the Celtic support, is that the board won't spend. They spend enough to win the Scottish title, but they won't spend to take them to another level. But they are still in better shape than everybody else. He should have success there. The former Scottish international now works for ESPN in America as a broadcaster and is familiar with Nancy from his time in the MLS at Columbus Crew and CF Montreal. Burley has also had his say on title race talk. Hearts were 8 points clear, and that was one of the reasons why Brendan Rodgers lost his job. But there were other things behind the scenes, political. The task of Hearts, keeping it up for the whole season, there's a better chance of Celtic coming through. There's still a long way to go in the season, and Nancy will be wasting no time in getting his squad in shape for the battles ahead. Lastly, Tom Rogic and Lewis Capaldi linked up in Australia this week, with the Celtic hero posing for a photo alongside the chart-topping singer as Capaldi continues his tour down under. Capaldi, who never hides his Celtic allegiances, is set to return to Scottish stages next summer with a headline appearance confirmed for TRNSMT. He famously used Celtic guitar picks during his comeback set at Glastonbury and has worn the jersey on stage in the past. The meeting with Rogic brought together two figures who hold a special place among Celtic supporters. The Australian midfielder, who left the club in May 2022 after 9 memorable years, was back in Glasgow earlier this season as part of the Celtic Legends side that faced Manchester United at Parkhead. That occasion marked his first time back in the city since his departure. Rogic racked up 273 appearances in green and white, collecting 16 major honours and a place in club folklore. His legacy was sealed with that iconic last gasp winner in the 2017 Scottish Cup final, securing the invincible treble under Brendan Rodgers and sending the Celtic end into chaos. Now retired from professional football, Rogic remains a fan favourite, and the photo with Capaldi was nice to see and did bring a smile to the face. So what's your take on Nancy using the tactics board? Is it a smart coaching move or is it unnecessary? And more importantly, do you think the board will actually back him properly in January, or are we heading for another disappointing transfer window? Craig Burley seems to have his doubts. Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.